Junot Diaz is a writer whose finely crafted works of fiction offers powerful insight into the realities of the Caribbean diaspora, American assimilation, and living life between cultures. Diaz was born in Villa Juana, a neighborhood in the Dominican Republic, and throughout most of his early childhood, he lived with his mother while his father worked in the United States. Diaz immigrated to New Jersey in December 1974, where he was reunited with his father. His experiences as an immigrant serve as a vantage point for his own work, in which he explores the challenges and rich duality of immigrant experience. The young people in his story speak Spanglish and live in a manner still marked by their Caribbean heritage. Yet his narrative space is not one dominated by nostalgia. The characters' struggle to assert their cultural identity is set against the backdrop of everyday deprivations of inner city life. Diaz garners inspiration for his stories from his own troubled family life. His father abandoned the family for another woman when Diaz was an adolescent. Diaz learned early to escape his unpromising circumstances through writing. He began to write in earnest when his older brother was diagnosed with leukemia. He found another avenue of escape through education. He majored in English at Rutgers University, where he read the works of Sandra Cisneros and Toni Morrison, which would influence the stories in Drown. From Cisneros, he learned how a neighborhood can be as vibrant as any character. Morrison's novels influenced him to write about minority history, which would play a large part in his writings of the immigrant experience of straddling and combining two worlds. A 1996 anthology composed of 10 short stories, Drown focuses on the frustrations, anger, and needs faced by poor immigrant Dominican male characters. The titular short story Drown focuses on a young man who remembers his childhood days with his friend Beto. The young man's sense of responsibility for a mother who is a ghost of herself, combined with his need to escape the neighborhood and feelings of betrayal, are almost suffocating. His next book, The Brief, Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, follows 3 generations of a family living in both the Dominican Republic and the United States. Using a mix of Spanish, English, and street slang with literary and pop culture references, Diaz approaches the complicated and troubled history of the Dominican Republic for those who lived through it and those who left. His short fiction has appeared in the New Yorker magazine, which listed him as one of the top 20 writers for the 21st century. Both Drown and The Brief Life of Oscar Wilde were published to critical acclaim, and he won the 2008 Pulitzer Prize for fiction for the latter. Diaz himself has described his writing style as a disobedient child of New Jersey and the Dominican Republic, if that can be possibly imagined with way too much education. Diaz has been the recipient of many awards and fellowships, including a Guggenheim Fellowship and a MacArthur Grant. His most recent work is a short story collection entitled This Is How You Lose Her, which returns to the themes and characters in Drown. Diaz currently is active as a professor at MIT, where he teaches creative writing. Here is an excerpt from Drown. We watch the movie, and 2 hours together makes us friendly. She puts her hand on mine. Near the end of the film, just as our heroes are about to fall apart under a hail of bullets, she takes off her glasses and kneads her temples, the light of the television flickering across her face. She watches another minute, and then her chin lifts to her chest. Almost immediately her eyelashes begin to tremble, a quiet semaphore. She is dreaming of Boca Raton, of strolling under the jacarandas with my father. You can't be anywhere forever, was what Beto used to say, what he said to me the day I went to see him off. He handed me a gift, a book, and after he was gone I threw it away, didn't even bother to open it and read what he'd written. The narrator, seduced by Beto, as they watch a porn video, seems intent on avoiding him when Beto returns from college on his summer holiday. The narrator never delves into the loss of friendship it implies, but rather depends on the reader's willingness to read glimpses of real emotion behind the mask of coolness. These glimpses come through skillfully placed pairings. The pain of loss is conveyed through the recollection of the friendship between the 2 young men, offered by the narrator, and through the seemingly unrelated descriptions of the mother's yearning for the husband who has left her, despite knowing the relationship could bring her nothing but pain. Both tales lure the narrator and his mother with recollections of the true feeling that it had existed between the 2 couples before betrayal separated them. Diaz uses video watching to good effect by pairing 2 scenes of video screenings, one leading to Beta's seduction of the narrator as they watch a porno film, the other as an attempt at catharsis as the narrator and his mother seek solace for the pain of betrayal that consumes them while watching what seems to be a dubbed version of Bonnie and Clyde. The hail of bullets that are going to tear Bonnie and Clyde apart are a metaphor for the actions that separated the narrator from Beto and his mother from his father. For the narrator, his hail of bullets was when Beto touched him and the fact that he let Beto touch him more than once. For the narrator's mother, it was when her husband left her for another woman. Just before Bonnie and Clyde are destroyed, his mother takes off her glasses. Though this is an act of weariness, this is also a symbolic gesture of not wanting to accept Bonnie and Clyde's fate because she is still not ready to let her husband go. She still dreams of him, strolling under the jacarandas, flowering trees native to the tropics. The sprinkling of Spanish words throughout the story has little impact in Drown. They are not brought into the text to enrich the English language with new expressive possibilities, but as recreation of the easy slang of the minority community about which the narrator writes. Known as Spanglish, is a combination of the two worlds the narrator is familiar with. The use of the word semaphore, a system for setting signals by using two flags that are held in your hands, to describe the fluttering of his mother's eyelashes demonstrates how comfortable the narrator is with English vernacular. This supports that the narrator uses Spanglish not as a crutch, but as a way of merging his Dominican and American culture. He does not fully belong in either world, but is part of a new culture shaped by his background. The narrator knows his mother's dream because he too is dreaming. By subconsciously pairing his mother's dreaming with his own memories, the narrator indirectly tells us he misses his friendship with Beto. The words, "you can't be anywhere forever," haunt him as he is stuck in the neighborhood selling drugs, going nowhere like the shuttles that are burnt out. Contributing to the narrator's angst is the fact that Beto is seemingly unscathed by this experience. In the narrator's eyes, Beto is just a homosexual, yet he is the one who gets to go to college and leave the neighborhood, while the narrator is left behind to deal with his confused emotions. He is scared of being gay and feels ashamed that he allowed Beto to touch him, but he also resents Beto for making the first move and consequently destroying their friendship. The fact that the narrator doesn't even read what Beto has written for him, a person who used to matter more than anything to him, demonstrates how he feels the only way to cope with what has happened is to shut Beto out. He keeps himself closed, much like the windows in his apartment. The transparency of language, acuteness of seemingly unimportant details, lies reduced to bleak everydayness, hint of anger, and intimation of complex emotions allows us to feel like we're drowning as well.